And now, our story continues. Jonathan Smith was feeling particularly well pleased with himself today. He had devised a plan by means of which he hoped to free himself from his unhealthy involvement with Leroy Duval, by which he hoped to gain complete future security. Actually, it was a simple plan. Someone was needed to accept full responsibility for the bootleg racket. Someone whose confession would effectively block any further investigation and close the case. That person appointed by Mr. Smith was Pop Walters. For a price, of course. And it was Duval who was to sell the idea to Pop. Jonathan hadn't liked the idea of buying immunity for Duval, whose blackmailing tactics had forced him to become involved in the bootleg racket. But in order to extricate himself, it also meant helping the racketeer. Now, Duval, returned from his mission to Pop Walters, has just entered Mr. Smith's office.
Well, Duval, you talked to Walters?
Yes, I talked to him, Mr. Smith.
Good. I'll get right to work on it. I think the best thing will be to stage another raid. It would look better, and I can sell the idea to Sheriff Ellis without any trouble. But this time, you'll see that there's plenty of your booze on hand. And not too conspicuous. We'll let Ellis have the fun of looking for it. And how soon do you think it can be arranged?
I'm not so sure that it can be arranged, Mr. Smith.
What do you mean?
Stanley isn't quite convinced that he likes the idea.
Huh? You mean you muffed it?
I'm not through with him yet. But he wasn't quite as eager for your proposition as I thought he'd be.
My proposition? You didn't mention my name.
Of course not, Mr. Smith. I realize you want to avoid that.
Look here, Duval. We can't afford a failure on this, especially not since young Scanlon has this bee in his bonnet about me. Walters is our best out, if not our only one. What is the trouble? Not enough money?
Yeah, I don't think it was the money. No. Stanley was quite impressed from that standpoint. I'm afraid, though, he's grown allergic to prisons.
Well, naturally, I didn't expect him to snap at it like a paid vacation. But the idea was to show him he had no other alternative. You told him he'd be paroled?
Of course. Made quite a point of it.
What'd he say?
Well, he thought the idea was clever, but it also struck him as rather fanciful.
Did you tell him he's already suspected? That Ellis is hot on his trail?
Yes, Mr. Smith, of course. But Stanley is of the opinion he has nothing to worry about as long as he sits tight, doesn't talk, and keeps his nose clean. As a matter of fact, he has a point. I think we both realize he can't be touched if he does just that.
Yes. Well, he's got to be touched, Duval. He's got to be convinced it's his only out.
Yes, touched, as you say, Mr. Smith, but not crowded. Stanley is a seasoned campaigner, not easily stampeded. I've always been able to handle him, but there's a limit to how far one can go. He might easily get mad enough to...
To give your show away? Is that what you mean?
You put it very clearly. Naturally, I don't want to antagonize him. But I said I'm not through with Stanley yet. I think I can convince him in time.
In time? How much time do you think we've got? No, Duval. I think you're bluffing. This man's got you stymied, and you know it. He's got too much on you. You can't high-pressure him.
Yes, Mr. Smith. I'm afraid you're right.
I thought so. Well, in that case, I'd better take over myself.
Yeah? Just how do you pose to handle that?
Never mind that. I'll handle it all right. This Walters. I've a hunch that isn't his right name. How about it, Duval?
I think you'll find it's one of several aliases that Stanley has used in his rather checkered career, Mr. Smith. But I'm equally certain it's graced a few police blotters, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I imagined as much. And I don't suppose he'd be particularly anxious to have his record checked, would he?
No, quite the contrary. You see, Stanley chose the comparative obscurity of a town like Elkhorn City for a very definite reason. He wanted to remain out of sight. I think it had something to do with his marriage to a moderately well-to-do widow. Unfortunately, he failed to get a divorce from another not-so-well-to-do woman he'd previously married.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, Duval. Duval, I'll show you how to handle your man Walters. I've got an idea I can soon put him in a very different frame of mind. Hello, Sheriff.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Smith. Glad to see you here. Let me pull you up a chair.
Oh, sit still, Ellis. Sit still. I can get it. Just passing by, and I thought I'd stop in and talk to you about the Scanlon case. Anything new?
No, not a thing, Mr. Smith. I was up to the hospital and got a statement from the boy. Made a full confession of his part in the bootlegging. Kind of surprised me, too, talking to him. Seems like a mighty straightforward young man.
Well, don't let him fool you, Ellis. The boy's plenty sharp. I think you'll find out he knows all the answers.
Oh, he's not going to fool me. I'll see to that. I don't know, Mr. Smith. Seems kind of funny to me that a man like Dr. Paul would favor the boy so much if he was bad all the way through.
Paul? I think you know the answer to that as well as I do, Ellis. Paul is a soft patch. He's the kind that always roots for the underdog. Not a bad trait in a doctor, of course. In fact, I'd say it's something of an asset. A man like that naturally takes a greater interest in his patients. But if it's an asset to a doctor, it's a liability to a man in public office. You and I both know that that sort of thing just doesn't go.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Still, Dr. Paul strikes me as an uncommonly fine man. He's got pretty good judgment.
Well, look here, Ellis. Don't let sentiment get in the way of your duty.
Oh, don't worry about that, Mr. Smith. The boy's made a complete confession. There's not a chance of him getting out of it. The only thing that worries me is that, well, this boy's just a little fish in the pond. What I'd like to do is get the man over him. The one that hired him to peddle this stuff.
Have you an idea who it is?
Yeah, I got an idea, all right. I don't know how I'm going to prove it.
Who do you think?
It's the same as the boy said. This here, Pop Walters. You know, I told you before, Mr. Smith, up there at your house. I didn't like the way Walters acted the night we raided his place. To me, he's got a fishy eye. This boy gave me a mighty straightforward account of the whole thing. I believed him. Yes, I think Pop Walters is the man behind it.
Well, that's fine, Ellis. That's exactly what I came down here to see you about.
Yeah? What do you mean, Mr. Smith?
I'm convinced Walters is your man, too. And I'll give you credit for that, Sheriff. You started me thinking about it the other night at the house. It stands to reason young Scanlon was working for somebody. He couldn't have been entirely on his own.
Exactly my thinking on it, Mr. Smith. But what am I going to do? We made one raid on the man's place and didn't net a thing. Now he's wary as a fox. He knows Ricky's named him as his boss, so it's not likely he'll handle any more of the stuff. Not for a long time. All we've got is Ricky's word. I can't arrest him on that.
That's right, Alice, you can't. But there's more than one way to skin a cat.
What do you mean?
Well, I've done a little quiet looking around, and enough to convince me that this Walters has a police record. Yes, and enough to convince me that Walters isn't even his real name. You might not only be able to flush him out of his nest on this bootlegging charge, Ellis, but you might also find out that you've got bigger game than you thought if he's wanted somewhere else.
By golly, maybe you're right, Mr. Smith. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
You know, and it wouldn't do you any harm, would it, Alice, to turn up with a man like that?
Oh, you bet it wouldn't.
You know, I think we can work together on this, Alice. I'd like to see you get the credit for cracking this thing. And if we can get him to confess his part in this bootlegging, frankly, it would make me mighty happy to see you get a break. Something that would put you in the public eye so that later on, when the right opportunity opened up, we might move you into something better.
Oh, it's mighty decent of you, Mr. Smith. I'll get right to work on it. If this fellow Walters has a police record, by golly, we'll find it out in a hurry.
Jonathan smiled at the sheriff's eager display of cooperation, an expression which the flattered sheriff mistook for approval of his attitude. Approval from the future governor, who had a personal interest in seeing that he got a break. Now, Mr. Smith was certain that Pop Walters could be forced into seeing the advisability of making a confession. One that would silence Ricky Scanlon, who was attempting to connect Mr. Smith with the liquor racket.